Hello and welcome to Wolfman Gaming. This is my Uncharted 4 Crushing Difficulty walkthrough, and this is chapter 16, also known as the Brothers Drake. And this chapter is about how they became known as the Drake brothers, or where it all started. Because if you have played Uncharted 3, you will know that Nate's real last name isn't Drake, actually. In this game we find out that they were originally named Morgan, because that's what their parents, that's their parents' last name. And their biggest inspiration, except for Sir Francis Drake, was their mother. And she worked as a researcher, I think, for an archaeologist. And that's where all their interest in ancient treasures and hidden cities and all that was awoken. And we're breaking into this big mansion because Sam has found out that this may be the place that holds their mother's notebook, somewhere in all of this. Because the person living here is a hoarder. And this is also one of those chapters. First time I played for this game, I thought it was a great chapter because I enjoy a good story. The second, third, fourth time, it isn't that interesting anymore. This is one of those chapters I wish you could skip it. Because it's great for expositional reasons. It's more or less pointless when you're doing a walkthrough. Except if you're doing a collectible walkthrough, because there is one or two in this gigantic mansion. All 100 or whatever it is of them could be locked away in here. But since we have some downtime, I have been quite cruel when I've edited this, because there is a bit of an animation whenever Nate opens a box, and I've trimmed all that out, just to shorten this a little bit more. But since we have some time, I want to talk a little bit, because this game is called A Thief's End. And this chapter ends their lives as Nate and Sam Morgan and begins their life as Sam and Nate Drake. So let's talk a little bit about beginnings and endings. Because I think the beginning and the end of, for example, a movie or a game are some of the most essential parts. Of course, you have to have a great adventure in between. But the beginning is very important to catch your interest, want you to continue on. If a movie starts off really slow, or a game starts off really slow and uninteresting, you're not gonna be piqued to continue watching it or continue playing it. But instead, it has to catch your interest. It has to make you want to continue playing it. And that is something I think the Uncharted series has done really well over the years. Because if we look back on this entire series, in the first game it starts with Nate and Elena on a boat. And that's establishing characters, but immediately we get boarded by pirates. So it becomes very hectic, very quick. And that is something that's been a staple through this entire series. The second game starts off a bit slow, but it starts off in a train cart hanging off a cliff in the Andes, with Nate bleeding, and everything is a big world of shit. And that is also a great beginning to a game. And I also think all these games have good endings. The only thing I really don't like, which is something I talked about earlier, is the last boss of Uncharted 3. That boss fight is still absolutely atrocious. And it kind of drags down the game a little bit. And that is the second part I want to talk about, namely the endings of things. Because when you're watching a movie, or you're reading a book, or you're playing a game, especially when you watch a movie, I think, is the most common. You can watch a movie that you think is quite good. It can be exciting, it can be fun, it can be scary, whatever. If that movie has a really shitty ending, it can kill the entire movie. You can sit there wondering, why have I spent 2 hours of my life watching this? And a great example of one time where I thought that would happen was actually the first time I saw The Sixth Sense. And I'm gonna talk about this ending, so if you are one of the very few people in the world that hasn't seen that movie yet, I suggest you skip this part. Because me and a friend of mine, we rented it. We didn't see it in the cinema, we waited until it came out. It was on VHS back in those days. And if you're a kid and are watching this, Google VHS. It came out before DVD. But we rented it and we watched it, and I thought it was a decent movie. It was an okay ghost movie. Nothing super special, had some great scares. And then we got to the ending. And our first impression, Bruce Willis's character comes home and he sees his wife sitting in a chair sleeping. And she's talking in her sleep. And we were like, oh my god, they are gonna mess this up. This is gonna be that classic Hollywood ending where everything works out great and everyone lives happily ever after. And then the wedding ring drops. She drops it, and then you realize everything. All the pieces fall into place. And that ending goes from being complete bullshit to a great ending. And everyone who was there when that movie came out probably will agree that it was a great way to end that movie. It was quite innovative. It's not the first twist ending in a movie ever. Of course not, but it's really spawned a new... I'm not gonna say it spawned a new genre of movies, but it became really popular to put in twist endings after that. A great example when it comes to video games is, of course, BioShock. Would you kindly? If you play the game, you will know exactly what I mean. But it is so important that you put in a great ending. And this game is called A Thief's End, and there are quite a few ways you can interpret that. I think I will talk about that more in a later video, because we're coming up very soon to the end of this, and I'm gonna focus a little bit on this on this video now, because this is the only part that takes any kind of your concentration, because we are being chased by police. I'm not gonna go into detail on why they have arrived. If you haven't played this game, you're gonna have to find out for yourself. But this sequence is really easy. You can, most of the time you just follow Sam. And these police officers, they are not too keen on catching children, it seems. And I was a bit anxious when I came to my recording of this, because I have never gotten caught. And I thought in my mind that, of course, since that has never happened, of course it will happen on my recording run. But as you could see, I got through it scot-free this time as well. And I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have any examples of great endings or really shitty endings, please let me know in the comments. And I want to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video. So until next time, this is the Wolfman signing off.